channel slash podcast. I have Paul Carras.
Carras is correct. Yes, sir.
He's the head butcher here at Taylor Market. He's been butchering butchering, I think you've been learning, right, since you've been about 10?
When I was 18, started cutting meat.
So Paul's been here since he's been 18. We're right now in the offices in Taylor Market. Tell me about life growing up, Paul.
Well, pretty traditional, upbringing. I have a older brother and mother and father, and I grew up actually a block from here on 5th Avenue. So grew up in Land Park, local kid. Went to all the local schools. So went to the elementary, Crocker Riverside, and went to the middle school, Cal, and then went to McClatchy High School for 4 years. So.
And you said you've been here since your teenage years. How has the market changed since when you started?
Well, we're definitely getting busier every year. How it all started was I was 15, in high school and playing two sports, playing, baseball, playing football, and noticed I was like, man, I'm going to turn 16 pretty soon, so I want to drive. So I asked my parents, hey, can I have a car? And they were like, yeah, whatever car you want. I'm like, that's great. And then they were, I was like, well, how do I get it? And they're like, well, you have to get a job. So I was like, all right, well, none of my friends were working, and nobody had a job. I was 15 and a half. So, I turned 16 April 8th in 96. So my parents were like, you can have whatever you want, you got to get a job. And I was like, all right, well, let's do this. So my mom knew one of the grocery managers at the time at Taylor's, asked her if there's a position. She said, you go talk to the meat department. So I walked in here, again, 15 and a half years old, and talked to one of the butchers, like, yeah, you could start next week. It was like January 5th or 6th. And so started here. I made $4.25 an hour, and I basically cleaned up. All I did was clean for 2 years, and I had to get a work permit.
So from cleaning, were you kind of watching and seeing what everybody was doing? Were butchers kind of telling you hold this? Because I don't know if they still had the same setup. I haven't walked in there, but you know how they have the hooks and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same setup. In the very beginning, like I said, I had to go get a work permit in high school to come over here. So I wasn't even 16, so 15 and a half, you work 3-4 hours a day just cleaning. And in the beginning, it was just a job, right? I'm in high school. I'm not, no cares in the world, no bills. I'm just trying to save money to buy a car. So in the beginning, it was just cleaning. And then, the interest grew. And then you start seeing some pretty cool things. These guys cutting, big primals and carrying in some big meat. And you're like, okay, this is kind of cool. So my interest grew as I got older.
Were you hunting back then? Because I know you do now, but
yeah.
Was there still, did you hunt back when you were younger?
So in high school, we would do a lot of waterfowl hunting. So, ducks and geese, sometimes pheasant. But the big game really didn't start till later, till after college.
So did you just go to the city college here? Or?
So I went to Santa Barbara City College. So when I turned 18, I was still an employee here. I turned 18, went to Santa Barbara City College for a year and a half. But I would come home and work all of the holidays and all, continue throughout the summer. So I'd work the summers, all the major holidays. So I never really left in a way. And so I came back after a year and a half and finished another year at City College. And from there, went to Sac State. So graduated from Sac State.
And you were still working here after Sac State?
Oh, yeah.
And then what happened after Sac State? Did you just come here full-time, or did you try a lot of different things?
I was actually working here full-time while at Sac State. So, I still flabbergasted that I used to do this, but, I would work 40 hours at Taylor's, right? And then you had 16 units, and then track and field. I was on the track and field team. and I was on the track and field. I mean, you had 5 days of practice, and then the 6th day was the meet. So 6 days of track and field, 40 hours of work, 16 units.
What events did he do in track?
I threw the javelin,
Okay.
so I was a thrower. And we actually went to the Big Sky Conference Championship in Montana. But it was basically halfway through my college career that I knew I was going to be a butcher. So I would leave here from Taylor's and wear my work attire, never changed, go to school, and I wanted to finish my education. But I knew halfway through my 2 years that I was going to be a butcher.
It didn't feel daunting, or you know how, I don't know, when you're kind of with me when I was a kid, I almost didn't want to physically work because I guess my parents used to work in the field. So when I was a little kid, they'd bring me with them, right? And it wasn't real work, but I was like, man, I don't want to do this. This is like the last thing I want to do. Did you ever think like that when... Because I know it, I mean, you're getting whole carcasses, right? You got to pull them out, you got to hang them. Or was it just the... I know you're always learning. I know it's an art, it's a craft. And, I mean, just all the different fish, all the different seafood you can break down. And, I mean, the same thing, right, with, like, lamb and sheep. Or, I don't know if you guys do goat or anything.
We do a few goats a year, yeah.
But all that, is that what kept you intrigued, or what was it kind of that made you want to?
I mean, that is definitely part of it. It's definitely something new every day. Even though I've been here for so many years, and I say this time and time again as a butcher, I mean, it is something new every day. So, we get carcass. So we're getting whole lamb, we're getting whole pigs, we're getting whole beef. Actually, next week we're getting a whole veal, which I've been here, 24 years. And we've never gotten a carcass veal in. So this is special. So like after 24 years, I'm finally getting a whole carcass in that's veal from my own, which is special. Like, that's cool. And you get excited. I mean, it can be daunting at times, but you have to keep educating yourself. You have to stay interested. And I think the day that I'm not interested, then I'm no longer a butcher.
And, butchery, meat, everything, it's all ingrained in American culture and society. And a lot of it is dying just with industrial slaughterhouses. And, I mean, somehow, some way, we have to bring that back. I know Sacramento is a farm to fork movement. And so it's a big thing here. And I know you guys work with Richard's Farms.
Yeah, Richard's grass-fed beef.
And they're up in Oregon House, right?
Oregon House, yeah.
Prior to them, who were you? Because I've noticed on your coat you have Pacific Seafood. Do you guys just bring from everybody, or how does?
Yeah, we pretty much bring from everybody. I mean, as far as lamb, we've basically always gotten lamb out of Dixon. I mean, this is since the 60s. So Taylor's has been here since 1962. We've been getting whole animals at Taylor's since 1962. We're not, we're considered a grocery store or a family-owned grocery store. But what people need to realize and don't realize is we've been doing this since 1962, whole animals. So, forever we've always gotten our lamb from Dixon. And then we used to buy meat 60s, let's see, that would go back to the 80s actually, Elk Grove Meat Company. And then Ed Shell, Danny Johnson, they used to go pick out the meat in Elk Grove, called Elk Grove Meat Company, bring the beef back here and pick it out. So
they slaughter the meat out there in Elk Grove?
Yeah.
And there's no more slaughterhouses out there?
No. So, but as far as like the whole animal thing, like Richard's grass-fed beef, we've been dealing them for the years. So you ever heard of Richard's Boulevard?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that family.
Oh,
so
no idea.
Carrie Richards, who is part owner of the company now, I went to high school with her, but I grew up with her. I've actually known her since I was a little kid, and she is part owner with her brother. And we've been buying beef from them for years, which is cool because I grew up going to that ranch as a kid. And then, we used to hang out and do all the fun stuff as kids, but to see the business grow like that and know that, look, I've been there. I've seen the animals. I've seen what they eat. I've seen how they're raised and how they're treated. It's a good relationship, and customers like to hear these stories.
What do you find are the most challenging things from running a butcher shop? And is it customers? Is it, because I know for grass fed or local, it's not gonna be I don't know, Save Mart. I don't know. I'm not sure where people go. Walmart. Because I get a lot of that. And because at my family business, people see me all the time, and they're always like trying to get me angry, and I laugh.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not gonna get angry the way you are, because I'm just working. I'm just trying to get by. What are some of the more challenging things you see in like the business?
Well, I mean, it's things that, this is a good question. I like this question because it's, people see, your success. People see people coming into the store all the time and think, man, that's an easy job. Yeah. That's a great question because it's what people don't realize. So things like refrigeration problems, plumbing problems, the things that hit your pocketbook. So, you have a meat case full of thousands of dollars of product. You have a cooler full of thousands of dollars of product. And refrigeration happens all the time. Refrigeration issues, problems. So you walk in at 6:30 in the morning and your walk-in cooler is broken and it's warm. And you have to fix that problem immediately. How long is that, how long has it been out? It can't be, that cooler cannot be warmer than 41 degrees. So your meat case, your seafood case, your deli case, refrigeration issues is a huge factor. Things that hit your pocketbook, and which you lose money. So, you got a very perishable product and you have to protect that. So that to me, that's one of the hardest things. Customers, not so much. Yeah, believe it or not, we know showing up every day, especially as a little meat market like us and a family-owned business, that people come here for, great service. People come in here to buy 2 pieces of bacon, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, can you bone out that lamb shoulder because I need some more lamb stew meat? Then they'll sit there and watch you. And, I don't know if picky's the right word, but we do have picky customers. We know that, and they know that coming in that's why they shop here. So, again, to answer your question about some of the issues, stuff like that. We have it. We think we have it down by now, is how we cut the counters so we don't have a lot of waste. We don't have a lot of back stock. We like to keep it going. But there's a whole another side besides cutting meat. And then that the Danny, the owner, he has to deal with. You have a lot of employees, and with employees comes a lot of issues, behind the scenes stuff. So
how many people you guys have in Taylor's Market?
So we have Taylor's Market and Taylor's Kitchen combined. We have about 55.
Wow. Between
both. So when I first started at Taylor's, there was no Taylor's Kitchen, and then the market was, 15, 16 people total. Mm-hmm. So.
Wow. Yeah, this is a great little spot. For some reason, when I was driving over here, I was thinking it was in Freeport. You know how Freeport is further south, but it was just Freeport Street. And has this area always been this nice? I've been to the zoo. I have a 7-year-old daughter. I've been here a couple times, but sometimes it seems like I forget, and I always come and I'm kind of like blown away how nice the little houses are and everything. And it just, so many parks up in right behind the zoo and whatnot. So it's always kind of been like this?
It's definitely obviously getting bigger. But where we are, we're right in between. We're considered Land Park. Okay. Right across the railroad tracks is Curtis Park. Okay. So Land Park, Curtis Park are very well developed, been here forever communities. And, like the zoo, and you have Fairy Tale Town. and the park itself. You have the golf course, and there's a lot going on. But it's well established, and they're pretty prominent neighborhoods in this community, which is nice. You know, I mean, and the people that live here, they support us. And
I mean, this is a great little community and area, and I can just see a lot of movement, and I can just tell this place is probably going to be swamped today, right? Especially, does the weather really impact business, or is it more, when is your guys' peak? Is it the holidays? Is it the summer?
Well, yeah, I mean, Christmas time, right? Christmas, the week of Christmas, obviously our busiest time. And then you have Easter, you have Thanksgiving. Those would be like the big ones, right? And then after that, you have New Year's. And then, you know, like you have Valentine's. Like Valentine's we got done with, that was crazy busy. We have St. Patrick's coming up. And then all the little other, you know, Memorial, Labor Day, 4th of July. But weather, time of the month. So beginning of the month, everyone's been paid. So a lot of people get paid, you know, once a month. So the beginning of the month, everybody's got money. We're going to be busy. Then you go off weather. So the weather's been so sunny and warm lately, right, in February and March. So this turn of weather, like the past few days where it's cloudy and cold and it rained a little bit yesterday. So now we switch everything from New Yorks and ribeyes and your traditional T-bones and, you know, your cool like barbecue spring cuts. Now, like yesterday and today and tomorrow, it's all short ribs, you know, oxtails, beef shanks, stew meat, chuck roast. And that's because it's cold and everybody wants to braise and slow cook. But as soon as the weather turns again, then it's back to, you know, spring grilling. And so, yeah, weather has a huge part.
So I've noticed on Paul's Instagram that he's competed in the World Butcher Challenge. Is that what it's called?
World Butchers Challenge,
World Butchers Challenge. And in 2018, you said it was in Scotland?
Northern Ireland.
Ireland.
It was in Belfast, Northern Ireland.
So before it happened, how far ahead did you know? Because I've noticed that you have to constantly be working on different cuts, right? And you need sponsors to keep you active, right? So what are some of the challenges, or how does that competition go? Is there certain sections of the cattle you have to break down? Or
Yeah, so this competition, the World Butcher Challenge, started in 2011 in an open green field with two countries. It was New Zealand and Australia, and they competed for a few years. 6 butchers each country. From there, it went to 3 countries, to 4, and then from 4, it jumped to 12 in 2018 in Northern Ireland, where we competed. And so the competition is every 2 years now. So this year, it's going to be held September 5th at the Golden One Center in Sacramento. So now there's 16 countries, which obviously is the most the competition has had. So again, 6 butchers, and everybody has the same amount of time, 3 hours and 15 minutes. And everybody has the same amount of protein. So there's 5 chickens. And then you have a half of beef, which is a forequarter and a hindquarter of beef. Then you have a half of a hog, and then a whole lamb. So everybody has the same amount of proteins, same amount, and it's timed. And at the very end, you have to clean up. And when they say stop, everyone's got to stop, right? Just like any other competition. But you work on a display. So your display is not necessarily how you're going to win. There's a whole lot of different factors into this competition. So teamwork, creativity, cleanliness, utilization of the animal, and just, you know, how clean you are. Like, they go over your uniforms. Are your uniforms clean? Are they ironed? Are your fingernails clean? Are your shoes clean? I mean, there's hygiene into it too. So,
are you wearing gloves?
We're wearing cut gloves.
Okay.
Yeah. Everyone has to wear a chainmail apron, chainmail glove, and that's the rules. You have to do that. But It's how you butcher in your country. So again, 16 countries. So there's 16 different styles of butchery, which is cool, and that's a spectator friendly event because, you can go watch all these different butchers from across the world, and you're going to see 16 different styles of butchering, and what we do in America is totally different what they do in France, and again, that's cool for you to come watch. It's like you can walk around. You'll be able to walk around Golden One Center, and it's a general admission, so you can walk around. Say you want to go check out Brazil, check them out, and then you walk over and go see Mexico and Australia, and you can bounce around. But you're going to see some of the best butchers, some of them in the world, cutting at one time.
Yeah, no, that's super, super interesting. I know that in Golden One, it's in September. Is it before the Farm to Fork or is it after?
It's before.
Before?
Yeah, but it ties into Farm to Fork.
How many days is it? Is it
So September 4th is a Friday. They're doing the junior competition. So butchers under 30 and apprentice butchers. So like younger butchers. But some of these butchers are just as good as the butchers that are competing the next day. They're very young, talented men and women, and which is cool because we're starting to see tons of more women now competing. And again, these young butchers, men and women, doesn't matter. They're, in my opinion, better than some of the people that we're competing against the next day for the World Butchers Challenge. So,
how big's your team, Paul? Is there a maximum or minimum?
So yeah, there's max. So there's 6 butchers. That's all. 6 butchers across each country.
And when you competed, did you just kind of tell everyone you're in charge of this, you're in charge of that, I'll do this?
Yeah. So for 2018, like we were the first team ever to compete for United States, and so our captain is Danny Johnson, who is the owner of Taylor's. So he's our captain, and then 5 of us. And so we would meet here at Taylor's Kitchen, and we would practice, and the first go around was difficult because we had to kind of hurry up and put our team together, and then fundraising was tough. And every time we practiced, it was $5,000 to $6,000 every time we practiced because you have to pay for the meat, you have to pay for everyone to get here, hotels, food, travel expenses in general. So the challenges were unprecedented the first time, and but to answer your question, yeah, I mean, the captain, Danny, and we have a team manager, Tia Harrison, who's actually who started the Butchers Guild in the United States. So everybody kind of steered the ship together the first time. But yeah, we got to know each other, who's good at what, and then you put each other in their roles as far as who's going to do what.
Have you kind of decided how you're going to set everything up for this year? Have you guys already started fundraising? How is that whole ordeal?
Yeah, so we've been fundraising. We've been actually fundraising since 2018 for this competition, 2020, because we know how difficult it is. I mean, that's one of the hardest challenges. It's not cutting the meat because we're butchers and we know how to butcher. We know how to cut. It's everything in between. It's getting the money, getting the team here to practice is definitely the most challenging part. But yeah, as soon as we knew that we were going to do that again in 2020, we started fundraising, and we had tryouts this time. So we had tryouts in April of 2019, and 3 new butchers to the team. So we have Danny Johnson, who's the captain, and myself, and then we have Brian Mayer, who lives in Hawaii, Travis Scottsdale, that he lives in Washington, and then Kevin McCann in Rochester, New York, and then Brian Butler, who lives in Austin, Texas. So that's our team.
And oh wow, for some reason I thought it was just people here from Taylor's. Now that because you're talking about the hotel and the amount of meat that you need, and when you had a tryout, was it here at Taylor's, or how did the word get, or was that easy to get butchers come in and be part of the team?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was relatively easy. We had It was open doors. We put it on the Butchers Guild website, like open tryouts held at Taylor's Kitchen, and it was. I mean, we had a pretty good turnout, and it was up to myself and Danny and Tia for the tryouts, and we had some really good butchers, and that's our team. So pretty simple, nothing, pretty straightforward.
Well, I mean, hopefully I can attend. Do you know if it gets? Do the local channels cover it, or is the butcher who's going to live stream that event? Do you know?
So that's between the actual Real Butchers Challenge and Visit Sacramento, and they have a part in that, and that's what they're doing. They're taking over that. So I'm not quite sure, but it will be live streamed. I know that. And the local, Channel 3, Channel 13, 31, there'll be some interest there as it gets towards closer to the event. But there was live streaming last time in Ireland. It's going to happen again, so it definitely will be covered.
So it sounds like you already have everything ready. Do you remember what you placed in 2018?
Yeah. So there was 12 countries. We placed 6th place out of 12 for our first time.
And for the criteria, you said it was everything, right? Just how presentable you were. How big was the meat or the display case? No wrapping, right? It was just in trays.
Well, yeah, I'll show you a picture later, actually. And I have some videos that are pretty cool. But everybody had the same amount of space, so you put them on. They're basically tables, and then you would put everybody had different color cloths that they would put down. Some people put I remember New Zealand put a artificial grass. It made it look like real grass, and they had like water flowing, and like the mountains, and then there was France, who was like over the top, like one of the most beautiful displays you've ever seen. But again, it's not always about that display. It helps, but it's not always about just that display. Ireland, they won, and they deserved it. I mean, it was a great display. So every country has their different flair, which is nice.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I really didn't know much about it. I guess at the Butchers Guild is where we can get more information, right? butchersguild.com.
Yeah, I would say to go to the World Butchers Challenge, worldbutcherschallenge.com. That is where I would focus all my attention on all the information, because there's more updates there, and they do a great job. So I wouldn't look anywhere else besides the World Butchers Challenge.
So before we head out, I just want to kind of talk a little bit about kind of what I know. You're the butcher. You're the head butcher here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I actually consider Danny the owner, the head butcher, because he's the one that taught me everything. Well, mostly everything. But I would consider him the head butcher, and then I'm right underneath him. I'm basically his right-hand man.
Okay. So do you kind of learn from just doing and breaking everything down? Do you watch videos, or is there any other areas or media that you kind of follow to learn, reading books or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I learned everything pretty much hands-on from Danny. So he went to meat cutting school in the 80s, and I've yet to see a more well-rounded butcher than him. And I kind of knew that going into it. So, when I knew I was going to be a butcher and I wanted to be a butcher, I always thought, if I can get anywhere close to his caliber, I'll be a good butcher. And I learned everything pretty much from him. I mean, there's some things that I learned on my own, just trial and error. I would say the majority I learned from him. But, there's so many different styles out there, and there's so many good butchers out there that you can learn a lot from talking, or I've actually learned a lot from the new guys on our team, because we'll cut together at practices. So I'll see different techniques that they do, and I pick that up and I learn it. But a combination of learning here on hand, seeing what other people do, and again, I've come up with a couple tricks by myself, just over the years.
So I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. You said with your team, how often do you guys practice? Is it monthly?
Yeah, right now it's monthly.
Monthly, so once a month people fly in, and
Yep.
then you guys just dedicate a day, or
Yeah, we already have a set practice, so these guys are coming in once a month. It helps that Danny and I both live here, so that that's two people that don't have to travel on the team, which is nice. But you still have guys. You have Kevin coming from Rochester, New York, and Brian flying over here from Hawaii. Travis has the shortest flight, but then you have Brian coming in from Austin, Texas. So these guys come here once a month, and what people don't realize too is these guys are leaving their wives, their kids, their businesses. They're leaving everything for 3 or 4 days at every month, and that's a big sacrifice, and that's what people don't realize.
Yeah, I mean, that's super true, and I think this is kind of like the important thing about this YouTube channel and this podcast is I want people to see behind the scenes, not just when you walk in, the counter, everything. I don't know, the glitz, the grammar, kind of. I think you have to appreciate all the hard work that people do, what Paul's done, how many years he's been doing it, his whole team, Danny, his team captain, everybody involved, the members of this team on this American Butchers team. I think all that's important, and I think the more people realize all the work that goes into it, I mean, you can appreciate your local butcher, and maybe that can start coming back in like every little town. I mean, it's super rare to have something like this, and it's super important for tailors to be leading the way here in Sacramento, maybe more of Northern California. I mean, I'm not positive with the Bay Area how that is, but I think that tailors and Paul is leading the way in the butcher industry in Northern California, and I'm super excited to see the competition and how they're progressing. So kind of I've noticed that when you do social media, you've kind of just go out and do, I seen you do displays at Farm to Fork. Is that kind of challenging, or is it just second nature to you to butcher out in public and everything?
Yeah, it's pretty natural by now. When we first started doing things, it was a little weird doing it in front of the public. But we've been doing it for so long now that it's just second nature.
And you do a lot of demos here as well, huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, Danny and I, we do a couple demos at the California State Fair every summer. We do, actually, we're going to Richard's Ranch in May, and we're doing a ranch-style dinner. So we'll break down like a hindquarter in the barn, and then they'll do like a ranch tour, and then they'll do dinner. We do demos at the Farm to Fork Festival in Sacramento every September. So we have like a stage. Danny and I in Taylor's Market, we host a hog butchering competition amongst chefs, not butchers, but chefs, local chefs in Sacramento. And Danny will be the MC. I'll be one of the judges. And so we do that where there's 3 chefs, 3 half hogs. And then we'll do Taylor's Market. Again, Danny and I will do like a demo after that. So demos. We also teach classes at Taylor's. So once a month, I teach a hands-on hog class. So there's me and another butcher. We will teach 4 students. So 2 students per half hog, and you do all the butchering yourself. We just tell you where to put your knife, where to put the saw, and then we're going to tell you every single muscle there is on that animal. But each person takes home 35 to 45 pounds of pork, each person. And you're doing all the butchering. It's $325. But with that, again, you're getting 35 to 45 pounds of pork. You're doing all the butchering. Some people apply it to farm kill. They're applying it to hunting, maybe a family business, or just for fun. So we teach those classes once a month, and then Danny teaches lecturing classes, and those are $45, and we do those at Taylor's Kitchen. And with those, they're 10 a.m., so you get here a little early. We have coffee, scones. It's about a 2.5-hour lecture class. After that, you get lunch for $45.
And that's all on Taylor's website, right?
You go to Taylor's Market. Yeah, go to taylorsmarket.com and then click on class schedule. and then you'll be able to pick your class, sign up online. I'm actually doing a Lamb 101 next Saturday. So it's a whole carcass lamb. So I'm getting a whole lamb from Dixon, breaking it down in front of the people here at the kitchen. And again, you can ask as many questions you want. I'm doing all the butchering, but if you like lamb, you like whole animal butchery, or you just like meat in general, it's a great class, and the price is great. And it's you'd be surprised how many people like lamb in this region. So cool class. That's one of my favorite animals to cut up. So pretty excited about it.
Yeah, no, I personally love lamb and a whole lamb, and you learn how to break things down. I'm sure there's some recipes on the website, but you're getting local lamb from Dixon here at Taylor's. You're watching, you're seeing everything, and maybe you appreciate it. Maybe your hands hurt, they cramp up when you're butchering some. So then you appreciate what Paul's doing for you before you get it home, and you're more conscious of what you're eating and more appreciative of the hard work that goes into everything that Paul does here and a lot of people here at Taylor's Market. So where can people find you online, Paul? Do you have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook?
I just have Instagram myself. I actually just started a couple years ago because the two guys on my team convinced me to get social media. You know, I was laughing at some of the guys and their followers, and like it never really made sense to me. Like I was like kind of like anti-social media, you know.
It seems like work to me, because you're a busy guy,
yeah.
right? And you have a family and everything, and it's just like to take a picture.
Yeah, it's a lot,
and to constantly be it's difficult, you know.
Yeah, no, it is, and like I said, the only reason I got it was the two. It was Craig Deal, who was on our team last time, and Brian Butler, and those guys convinced me to get it. And in a way, I'm glad I did. You know, I got to see, you know, you and I connected.
Yeah, definitely.
Through Instagram. But it is a lot of work. Yeah, my Instagram is, I think it's Paul_Carras 2. So
I'll correct it and post a link on the description on YouTube and on the audio.
And that's all I have. I don't have, what is it? Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah, no, I have them all. I'm not active on any of them.
Yeah.
I can't. You know, people even ask me, why don't you? I'm like, you have no idea. Like, that's not the first thing on my mind.
Sure.
Is, you know, take a picture.
Yeah.
Explain stuff. And I mean, I think that's an important thing because Paul's physically working, doing things. He's constantly has a million things on his mind, so I think the last thing he's going to be thinking about is posting on social media. But I'm thankful that he is, because if he wasn't, then we wouldn't have this conversation.
Yeah.
And you get to see. I'll be posting videos and pictures during this video about all the work he does and the things he's doing. So.
Yeah, I post like for Instagram. Mine is solely about butchering.
Yeah.
In every aspect. So that's all you're going to see on my Instagram is just butchering itself, whether it has to do with hunting or demos or what we do here at Taylor's. So, and then, you know, it's good. Like, you know, I'm starting to like it a little bit better. Just, it's nice to keep in touch with people, you know, especially after the Real Butcher Challenge. There's people that message me all the time throughout the world that we competed against or will be competing against. So, you know, as a family of butchering across the world, it's nice to, you know, kind of stay together and showcase what you're doing here.
So do you have any parting words, anything that you'd like to say before we cut this off, Paul?
I mean, I would say, you know, if you like meat, you like butchering, you know, go find a good butcher. There's a lot of good butchers out there. And once you find that butcher, once you find that man or woman who's a butcher, and you get along with them, you trust them, and you know, they treat you right, hang on to them, because a good butcher is hard to find. Even though there's a lot of butchers out there, you got to find a person that will treat you right and understand how you cook at home, understand your income, because it's not always about expensive meat. It's, it's tough times out there right now, and you don't need to go somewhere and spend a ton of money where you can go to a good butcher who understands you and is going to lead you in the right direction for relatively inexpensive cuts that are out there. So, find a good butcher, trust that butcher, and to me, life's a lot better with a good butcher in your in your circle.
You know what? That's super true. What Paul's saying about cuts, like even chicken feet. Like people don't know all the collagen you can get from chicken feet, oxtail, shank. It's endless. It's endless. And if you, like Paul said, Paul's a fountain of knowledge. He's been doing this for a long time. You can come in here, ask him questions, and he's more than glad to help you out and show you, year round. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be, like he said, it doesn't have to be fillets and porterhouses all day. There's a variety of everything you can eat, from nose to tail on a cow, on a lamb, you name it.
Yeah, that's the benefit of us being a whole animal butcher. So from head to tail, right, we're going to get every cut, and we're going to show you where every cut comes from. So, how many people are you cooking for? When do you want to cook it? How do you want to cook it? How many people? There's a lot that goes into it. It's not just show up and buy some meat. None of our meat is cryovac in a package. We do get obviously a lot of out of box because we can't keep up with carcass. Mm-hmm. But again, we'll get 3 whole lamb a weekend. We'll get 1 to 2 whole hogs a week, and then we get a whole beef every 2 weeks. And then we also have to supply box meat. You get for instance, you get a whole hog in, right? And the guy comes in and say we were just doing whole animal butchery, and you had 1 hog. Guy comes in and wants 3 racks of baby backs. Well, there's only 2 on a hog, so that's why you get box meat. You have to supplement, the other guys that come in, and with summer right around the corner in spring, it's, you'd be surprised how much these guys come in and buy. So.
And it's hard to tell, too, because even though you kind of look at your numbers from years past and you're looking at the weather, there's times where people just tell other people and they're like, what, I'm switching from where I come or where I'm purchasing, and they show up and clean you out, right? So that's another challenging thing, right, is having the supply on hand, right?
Yeah, having the supply on hand, it's somewhat of a science, and it's trial and error, but we've been doing it for so long that we kind of have a grasp on it, and we're not perfect, and sometimes we'll order too much, and then you got to figure out what to do with it, and that's when experience comes in, and so that you don't have a lot of waste in your product.
Is there a reason you guys don't cryovac? Is it just to kind of sell what you
Well,
get right away?
The case that we have, our retail case, obviously it's refrigerated. You have to have a HACCP plan, which is a certain plan that you have to cryovac all of your meat. So we don't have that plan, so we don't cryovac anything because of that HACCP plan. The case, we like to keep it real traditional, family friendly, where you can, hey, I don't like that ribeye on top. Can you take the paper off and let me look under there? So we'll show you. But it's the way it's always been at Taylor's. The glass cases, the cold refrigeration, and the traditional old school style of butchering. That's what we offer, and that's what we'll always offer. But customers seem to like it.
So Paul thought he wouldn't have a lot to talk about, and it seems like we do, but we have a short window, and I just want to keep it sweet and simple, but I'll try to come in here and kind of see what they're doing as much as I can and keep in touch with Paul. I feel an instant connection to Paul just because he's been, he knows more than me, so I know I can learn a lot from him, just kind of being around them and seeing, because I want to implement a lot of the stuff that they do here to my place, even though it's a different demographic, different people, different incomes and whatnot, but still I think this whole setup is just a beautiful setup here.
Well, I'll definitely help you in any way. So you let me know, and yeah, I'm here to help. So.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and thank you too, Paul.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.